Hi everyone, we're here at Botcon 2014, and I am sitting down with Clint Chapman. No, wait.
No.
Clint Chapman isn't here this time. Now, my viewers haven't met you before, so if you could introduce yourself and let them know what you do.
Sure, you bet. I'm Mark Weber. I'm one of the managers of product development for Hasbro's Transformers brand. I work chiefly on the Generations toys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I emailed Clint earlier, and he'd mentioned I should talk to you. He said you're the fella who would have some stuff to say about what we've been seeing this weekend. Mm-hmm. We had your Hasbro panel earlier today, and there were quite a few interesting reveals in there. I'll get right to the meat and potatoes of it, so we get into the collector stuff early on, but I do want to talk a little bit about some of the other lines as well. I have a few questions about that stuff. At the very end of the panel, you don't actually have to say anything, I just want to see how you react. There was a mention of deluxes, and there was just a silhouette. It looked kind of like a helicopter man. Mm-hmm. I noticed the number said something like 16 or so. We hadn't seen any of them, and I was thinking that there's a couple deluxe-sized people that I would think could be helicopters. And you'd mentioned that there was a fellow of note who said, do not tell them what the theme is.
Right.
And so we just had a silhouette pop up. I've asked around a whole lot. A lot of people seem to think it's the same Transformers, I'll just say gentlemen's. So that was a really interesting way to communicate some stuff as close to the line as possible. And it sounded like you really wanted to share with us as much as you could, like pushing as close as you could without getting in trouble, basically.
Absolutely, and it was, a big push is that we were coming to Botcon. I wanted to be able to show everything that we could. Yeah. And that was one of the few things that they said they actually had a different schedule for releasing information. So kind of a good example like the San Diego Comic-Con Dinobot pack.
Yeah.
Is something I wanted to show at this convention, but it was promised to ION, or IO9.
Yeah.
And so we would not have been able to show it here or even have it in the case, which we do, is only because IO9's release schedule was before Botcon. Originally, it wasn't going to be like that. So sometimes the PR where things are promised to be revealed tie our hands a little bit about what we can show and when we can show and what we can talk about and what we can't. So on some levels, sometimes it's helpful, like the Dinobot pack, and sometimes it ties our hands enough that we're not allowed to speak about it. But my boss, Jerry, and we poked a little fun at Jerry in the panel, said, essentially they have a plan, they have a schedule for when they want to release it. It won't be very long. Yeah. But my pushback was, Jerry, if I show them 2015 stuff, but no theme and no deluxe at all, they're going to feel shortchanged. So what can we do? Mm-hmm. What's the maximum you'll let me do? And essentially he said, you can show a couple shadows. Yeah. And I said, I can do that. We're showing them so much other good stuff. Yeah. That I think they'll let me slide on the shadows. And the room was so positive and friendly and engaging that I thought, okay, it's not going to be a bitter crowd who's mad by the time I even get to the thing I can't truly show them everything about.
The lead up to it felt a lot like this felt like almost an improvement on improvement, for lack of better words, on the delivery of the fan-built bot, where we sort of learned a bit about the fan-built bot at Botcon last year, but the full reveal happened at San Diego. Mm-hmm. And this felt like by showing those shadows as silhouettes, the fans who are in the know enough as to what stuff looks like, what they can expect realistically, it seems like it really communicated unspokenly what it needed to say.
Yeah, I think so totally, and it's no mistake which shadow we chose to show. Yeah. Essentially, it was I'm going to show them a shadow, and Hasbro said, show them a shadow. Doesn't matter to us, but some robots have such a distinct silhouette. Yeah. That we were pretty sure if we showed that particular shadow, that most fans would get a good clue about what we're thinking about.
Yeah, I checked around with a lot of people that I know did not talk to each other, or I know were around the room, and it seems like everyone has the precise same idea as to what we saw. So
then we probably did our job, right? And you could tell it was such a rush to be up there, tell the story, hit the button, and know that shadow was climbing up the screen behind me. Yeah. And to hear the crowd react instantly, which means they got it. Yeah. They know what I'm trying to say within the parameters of what I'm allowed to say.
So. And that's the careful balance with a lot of just talk in general with you guys when you're at Botcon, because I know that like the folks who are here, the design team, the brand team, you're the guys who are focused on Transformers, but you are beholden to, there are people above you in the hierarchy. There are PR people who have their rules and regulations, which kind of leads me to actually one of my other favorite things you guys have been doing lately, which is the designer desk videos. I have been craving more dialogue with the design team outside of Botcon. A couple of years back, when Takara Tomy had their masterpiece Lamborghini guy, Lambo or Sideswipe, pop up, they had a little video featurette go up on their YouTube channel. I just sort of was saying to myself, I would love to see this in a dream world. I'd love to see this for every single toy that comes out, but I'd love to see more of this as much as possible.
I think the feedback's been very positive on it.
It's been a really refreshing feature to see. And I'm looking at it. It certainly is something that feels like it's a clean product. What we're getting, the design desks are coming through onto YouTube in 2.5 minute chunks, and it feels like you guys have to. You're dropping in enough lingo to feel like you're pushing in, like kind of what I mentioned before. You're pushing in as much as you can up against the line that you can't quite cross. Putting those design desk videos together, are those like just long shoots, or is there a lot of preparation on them? Or
I mean, I think they have to prep the room essentially, and like from a shooting perspective to get it right. But for the guys, I mean, they work on that one toy for weeks, months at a time.
Yeah.
So for them, it's just make sure you're wearing an Autobot shirt and show up on time and go.
Yeah.
So I don't know for sure. I'd have to check with Bill and John, but to see, I think they shot a lot more stuff.
I had the feeling,
and it actually got chopped down to something concise, because at some point you're going off that cliff where it's gotten not interesting anymore.
Yeah.
So I think they pulled the choice bits about it and put together something nice, concise, and you're hearing it from the guy who A, cares about it, but B, knows more and more about why we did it this way.
Yeah.
And because we have such limited interaction with the fan base on an actual give and take basis, it's a really good way to help diffuse what may be a hot button issue out there, like soft plastic. I don't understand why they're doing so much soft plastic now. It's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
We didn't do it for a long, long time. Now, a lot of the movie line has soft plastic parts, but if you watch one of those videos, Bill Pauker lets you know that there's so many spikes on the Dinobots that it would have been a safety hazard to do in regular hard plastic. So we didn't want to soften the look of the Dinobots. The look is what makes them cool.
Yeah.
So to keep the ridges and the points and the triceratopness of a slug figure, soft plastic was a really good answer for it. And to have Bill be able to relay that helps diffuse. Now, some people may disagree with what we chose to do, but at least they understand the reasoning.
My keywords for these things are always designer intent. To me, that's something that is able to enhance one's enjoyment of just anything you get that had designers behind it. And it is a great tool for filling in little gaps, because for many years Transformers fans will receive toys and just start knowing what little we knew at the time, sort of fill in the gaps ourselves and just assume, like, we're pretty sure this part is like this because this.
Right.
And it's nice to just have that soft confirmation of, like, it's not a pretty sure, it's not an assumption. Designers saying it's like this because we think this.
Yeah, and the educated fan would usually be dead on. They know, a ton about how the toy is created and how it's tooled and why we do certain things and don't do other things. But to be able to have it validated and verified by the voice of the actual designer.
And referenceable, which is the big thing, because for years it's always been at Botcon. It's always been fans like myself and others just saying, well, at Botcon they said this. And a new fan, they have the right to say, I don't believe you, because I wasn't there.
Right.
How do I know you guys aren't just pulling the wool over my eyes?
Sure.
So having it in a recorded medium is wonderful to see, and also to get vocabulary out there, like durometer.
Right.
I think really enhances
there you go.
It enhances the conversation so much, because we can all find kind of a common lingo, and if you get enthusiastic about toy design, you can get deep into it through this.
Sure, absolutely.
So I'm hoping to see more of this stuff. I'd love it if you guys could get them, like as you said, like if they got shot longer. To me, it feels like it felt like a PR oriented move that a popular YouTube video, and especially something that's untested like Designer Desk, the safe zone is 2.5 minutes.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that the good feedback, the success leads to 5, even 10-minute things.
So you want the director's cut?
I want to have designer commentary, like somehow have a commentary track on a toy.
There you go.
I think it would be amazing.
That sounds good to me.
But going back to the toys, in Generations, we've seen, you guys are keeping on with Generations. And you mentioned it didn't get bumped out by Michael Bay, pretty much, which was it's nice to hear that candor, like, because that's basically what has happened to Lions in Past when the movie swooped in. Just to confirm, the older collector-oriented Age of Extinction toys, those are also Generations Age of Extinction toys, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Most of them, I think all of them, or most of them anyway, have a Generations at least sticker or call out on the packaging.
Yeah. And hitting that midpoint, like with all of the current push to really clearly have different kinds of toys for different kinds of audience members, trying to do Generations movie as well as One Step movie, Power Battler movie, a Titan movie even. Did you guys did it feel a little bit insurmountable at times, or was it kind of like, this is just how we approach the movies, but now it's laid out on the table?
It was, it was a significant challenge. It was different than anything we'd ever done before, but we really felt that it was, we were really aligning the brand to what we want it to be. We really want to have that nice stair step of both entertainment and product to sync up, to have something age appropriate for every Transformers fan as they grow up. And we had some of the pieces, and Rescue Bots, great show, great product. So we have the start of it, but the next step, we need animation that can focus and be accessible to a 5 or 6 year old. We need toys that a 5 or 6 year old can do. And then moving out of that, we felt we were getting there with our Construct Bots, with our Hero Masters, to get the kid who's just a little bit older. And then as the kid skews into 9, 10 through 13, toys generally drop off the page a little bit, but the digital engagement goes through the roof.
Yeah.
So if we have the right way to keep them connected with the brand, it doesn't necessarily have to be a toy purchase to let them continue celebrating the Transformers universe as they grow up, and then hopefully graduate into our Generations line, which they never have to leave. So it's a very clear focus agenda by Hasbro in general and Transformers specifically to build these two staircases that go right alongside entertainment and product. Perfect for the young kid, for the boy or girl, which I got called out on.
I was gonna stem from that. I was gonna segue from that. I forgot what it was called, the investor event, where it was first laid out very publicly that Hasbro is aware of that middle demographic drifting away from toys, and is aware of that the boys' toys, girls' toys thing is worth starting to bust that barrier down a little bit. Nerf Rebel being the easiest example one could call out, and in that slideshow too, like just how it kept coming up. It feels like the toy, like at least in Hasbro's case, there's an awareness of the change in the toy industry, and that the old way of old business, old thinking seems to be very actively evolving. Like one could say stripping away as well, but it seems like there is a push in the company to really not fall back on the laurels of what has worked before, but just try to adapt really actively.
Yeah, we're absolutely trying to be forward thinking, both, on every level, in design, in marketing, in product development, every bit of it. And the push, it's actually a really strong year, and there's enough pieces of it that it doesn't tell a cohesive story. But if you look at what has happened with the female revolution inside the Transformers brand.
Got 3 unique Generations Deluxes.
That's it. And if you trace it back to Fan-Built Bot, where we gave you 10 different things you could pick, but we didn't give the fans the opportunity to pick gender for the robot. And the backlash was severe and instant so quickly. And I'm proud of the company, because you can't always get it dead on right. But if you can realize that you missed something and be cool enough to fix it, and not step back and go, we gave them 10 things to pick from, why should we change it? We adapted that poll in 2 days to let fans pick a gender, and sure enough, female bot won in a landslide. So starting from there to the generation of Windblade, to Windblade getting into the comic, RC's revival in the IDW comics, to having Chromia and RC in our line, Windblade in our line, there's a real groundswell. And my favorite bit of it is, I'm a big IDW comics fan, but the cohesiveness there, that the Windblade comic has 2 females as the main characters, whose main characteristics are eagerness for Windblade and being tough. for Chromia, and loyal, toughest loyalty for Chromia. Two traits that are completely asexual. They aren't written as female characters. They're just written as heroes, which is great. And they're written by a female and drawn by a female, which is really rare in the comic world. So there's a lot of momentum behind the female fan base inclusion and how we're telling that story. That maybe, for almost 30 years it's been, we have to sell toys to this boy. I mean, maybe that's not specifically the case anymore.
I really like seeing it in the toy industry too, from a powerful company, because it also sets an example for your younger customers, and it helps. It kind of helps just feel like, as a world we're evolving. We're moving ahead slowly but surely, and there isn't storm and bluster. We're not having to find a corporation and pull it down and go like, get with the time kind of stuff.
Well, I think you called it out exactly. Nerf Rebel really led the charge, at least from a Hasbro product at least, to take what has historically been a very boy brand and to make an entire segment of it that is totally focused on girls.
That whole investor slideshow, it was a very telling feeling that like boy girl wasn't really in there. It was more just like children ages something something, children ages something something. Anyway, I'll get us back to Transformers toys here. I always get a little bit industry-ish when I get on a tangent. But yeah, Generations. There's not much I can really say in there. Like there's plenty of cool-looking stuff coming up. There's some little design questions I have. I don't want to like throw too much heavy design stuff on you here. But I did have a question. I had a question from the audience coming via Twitter. They were curious about the helicopter drift, the Voyager one. I'm mutating their question a little bit. Is that a remolding, retooling of Skyhammer from a previous line?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the Skyhammer line, and we were looking at it was late in the movie line, the last Voyager line that comes out. And one of the realities of our business is we only have so much tooling dollars to spend.
Yeah.
So it was late, but we wanted to do a helicopter drift. And I actually, funny inside baseball on this, volunteered Skyhammer as a guy who I thought was a fantastic mold, a great toy. And the first toy I bought from Dark of the Moon before I was working at Hasbro. And so I bought Skyhammer before Dark of the Moon came out, and then was disappointed that he wasn't in the movie because I liked the toy so much. Matter of fact, Bill Pauckert, who worked on that, who did that drift, we actually I gave it to my son, brought my son's Skyhammer in for him to look at and use as his basic reference on turning it into drift.
That toy was a very interesting one in that line, because that's as far as I can tell the only really previous line retool in a mainline thing for Age of Extinction Generations. Was it because I know that this mission statement going in, I forgot where it was said. It's in a slideshow somewhere, was trying to go for 100% original toys on this movie line, and the feel of the Age of Extinction toys is very different from Dark of the Moon, just right down to the basic plastic construction.
Sure.
So I'm not sure if you know, but was it difficult kind of getting that Skyhammer mold to fit aesthetically in with how the Age of Extinction toys are being made, like the lack of a mech tech weapon, etc.?
Right. I think it was the brilliance of that mold helped it fit in. It was such a good toy, and that it had not been reused, and that Skyhammer himself was a debut character. So it wasn't like we were taking an Ironhide or a Warpath or something that fans knew and truly associated heavily in the form factor of it. So it fit nicely, and then credit to Bill, not just the deco, but the new head and the new weapons. The two swords make it ridiculous drift. And the way they posed it out in our booth, it has him running with two swords back, and it just looks tremendous. So I'm a big fan of that. And it goes to show a little bit that if you can take a mold, a great mold, that has not been overused, give it great deco and just a little bit of tooling, you can actually make a pretty remarkably different toy with just a little tiny bit of tooling and some brain power. And
I'll entirely admit I have a huge bias when it comes to Skyhammer, because I think it's a fantastic design, the way it solves the issue of the propeller, which is the big thing to solve on any helicopter transformer.
Absolutely.
Very creative way it does so. So yeah, I'm not sad to see that thing pop up again, because like you said, Skyhammer only really had one go outside of a Botcon exclusive the other year.
Yeah, and you'll see, when fans react when they see something new. Like all of us, we want every toy to be brand new and blow our minds. And so frequently when you see a repaint, redeco come out or something with very little tooling, a lot of times the online reaction is, oh, that's just Warpath in blue. That's just Cosmos in pink. Or something like that. But the reaction to that was very positive too. Oh, you know, first it was, I didn't know Drift was a helicopter.
Yeah.
And then second was, that's a pretty cool mold. Or, oh, I'm really happy to get another chance to grab Skyhammer. So the instant reaction was quite positive towards it. So we were pleased with how it was received.
That's also one of those situations where it's the toy schedule kind of butting up against the film schedule, because now between him and Galvatron, I really like the bit in the special effects stage presentation, Galvatron, worst kept secret of the film.
Right.
We have these two Voyager toys where we're kind of looking at them going like, are those spoilers for the
Yeah, and the early bit with the truck was, you know, most of the back and forth.
Yeah.
Or the leading suspect was, well, it has to be motor breath, right?
Yeah.
It has to be motor breath. And then people would say, it's not motor breath, it's motor master, thank you very much. So.
Well, names must be a difficult thing to keep up with in terms of like the copyright trademark stuff and maintaining ownership. And I got to say, I'm happy to see Hard Shell stepping back for Bombshell, because Hard Shell and Sharp Shot just never clicked with me.
We did it, you know, we go as, if we've lost the name, we tend to go as close as we can to get it. So, and there are ways to dance around it. That's why you see Autobot Hound.
Yeah.
You know, if Hound is unavailable, Autobot Hound is friendly, because the dedicated collector is never looking on their shelf and going, that's Autobot Hound, right? It's just Hound.
Yeah.
But if that lets us get it to the shelf, fine. So there's ways to get about it with Autobot Hound, or if I can't have Bombshell, he's Insecticon Bombshell. If I can't get that, he's Decepticon Bombshell. If I can't get that,
then we start hitting
he's
the hard
probably
shell
hard
thing.
shell. But
yeah.
a good example from the Legends Insecticon the year before, we couldn't get Shrapnel, still couldn't. And we had been calling that character Sharp Shot. And even though it starts with SH, it's not close.
Yeah.
And so that's where we moved that name to call him Scrapnel with a K.
I was really happy to see that on the package, because like I said, Hard Shell and Sharp Shot just it's never quite clicked.
Yeah, it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of get as close as you can. And sometimes if you cannot get, like Swoop, can't get Swoop. But for the Pteranodon in the movie, given the difference in the look, the double heads of it, had we named him Swoop, if we could have, there is definitely a chunk of the fan base who would have gone, that's not Swoop.
Yeah, is it left Swoop and right Swoop?
Swoop's only got one head, or what happened? It's mutant Swoop, or you know, whatever. So sometimes it actually works to give him a name Strafe, which is, you know, from the lore, from a lesser known character, and it fits the sort of Dinobot rules. If you're not Grimlock, you get a short name that starts with S.
Yeah.
We got it.
And it was quite actually funny to see G1 Strafe's art on the Evolutions pack. Was that kind of like a little joke or a nod, or?
That was an error that turned into a wink. So it was something that was tried to be fixed at the last moment, and it was just, especially exclusives have a shorter print run than something that's going to mainline retail everywhere. So by the time we actually bought a G1 Swoop box off eBay, brought it in to scan, because we did not have that particular artwork. The packaging department said, Webb, that boat has so much sale that you can just calm down with it. So, and I said, I don't know if the fans will be angry, but they will notice. The second they see it, they will notice. And sure enough, they did.
I thought it was funny. I don't mind things that kind of, you know, bend expectation a little bit. It definitely did, I don't know how to put it, it rubbed in some direction the very continuity-oriented fans who are now trying to parse Strafe somehow into Dinobot lore, and, you know, I like spectating that side of things more than participating.
For the guys out there who are diehard fans of the original Strafe, it was, you know, no malice intended. It was just... And from the packaging department's perspective, this guy's Strafe, and it's a throwback pack.
Yeah.
So they go to the archives, type in Strafe packaging, here it comes, here we go.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, going into packaging, your SDCC exclusives, you've got the amazingly talented Mr. Reinhardt doing that pop-up base, which I'm really hoping to get a couple good looks at once it comes out, because I didn't think I'd be into that pop-up book as much as I was, and it made me research his work and see, you know, that is its own legit art form.
Yeah.
Those Dinobots, like, they are clearly, there's not much to say because their concept is clear, delivery is clear. My big question is, and I've been having a long talk about this with some people, the Knights of Unicron, that looks like a couple things chained together. It looks like a passion project. It looks like the kind of thing that hit a budgetary level where it feels like the call was made that dialing it back would affect it too much, so let's just push to the stratosphere. Right. And I gotta ask, how are those soft goods gonna work with those toys, like the hair?
They work real well. I mean, some of them are attached by elastic.
Okay.
So they're movable, and some of the bandanas are actually just a simple tie.
So I've got to assume, like, some of the, because it's a very costly set, and clearly the packaging and the booklets, and is that an actual record it's coming with?
It's not an actual record, but it's made to look. Actually, the jacket though feels exactly like a record jacket. So, and I was really happy we were able to spread out everything that comes with it in the booth because the packaging's awesome. But you don't necessarily get a really good look at everything you get in there. Yeah. From the Unicron stickers to Bumblebee and the Hive stickers to the album to the VIP pass, the ticket, and two almost full-scale roll-out concert posters, which we have up in a light box in the booth. Those come straight from the box. So it does, I think, strike, given that it's 4 deluxe figures. The price tag does seem to be a little bit up there, but there is so much inside of that box.
Like the paper goods seem like they make up a chunk of it, but I've also got to assume having the factories have to work with soft goods, if that's the case. I'd assume that must also be increasing the cost of that set quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not something we do a whole lot of on the Transformers brand. So I'm sure it was a bit of a fun day at the factory when we sent them in our plans and they went,
They tied these little kerchiefs.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if you could say, but was this really like a passion project from just a couple? Like, it feels like 1 or 2 people just really going like, I want to do this, and just convincing everyone to come along with them.
We're doing 2 Comic-Con items, and one was going to be the Dinobot pack. We knew for sure because we knew the fans would look at what we're putting out for Age of Extinction and go, wow, it's cool, but Dinobots to me are always going to have the vac metal, the chrome, the clear smoking plastic. So we knew that doing the Age of Extinction Dinobots in G1 Deco, easy hit. Getting Matt Reinhardt on to let us make Mount St. Hilary and the Ark, even better. So that set almost built itself, no problem. The other bit was we needed a second set, and myself and my partner, Clint Chapman, each came up with one concept and went in to present to our boss, Jerry Javoine, who is a great, big, crazy, heavy metal fan. So we went in to pitch to Jerry. We adore Jerry, great guy. And I made my pitch, which was a very strong pitch that would have been very close to the heart of our G1 fans. I still believe it would have been a very good Comic-Con exclusive. But it was very G1, and that's also where our box set with the Dinobots is hitting. And Clint hit a PowerPoint, and the whole screen went black, and flames curled up the side of it, and Highway to Hell started to play from AC/DC, and I knew I was done.
That guy's PowerPoint skills.
Oh, dude, black belt, right? But I knew as soon as he hit some metal music, whatever he had created was going to be fantastic and was going to hit Jerry's heart like a Cupid's arrow. Yeah, and from right then, I knew they were off to the races.
That sounds exactly like what I thought. Like just 1 or 2 individuals getting their passions just blasted to the ceiling, saying, "No, we're doing this."
Yep.
Because that's kind of what I like about it. Like, it's not entirely up my alley, but you can just feel the passion of that set dripping out of it.
And they knew from jump that it would be crazy polarizing.
Yeah.
That people would either completely dig it or think it was the worst, most this ridiculous thing we've ever done. So it wasn't a surprise when we released the images that the feedback was Pong, essentially. Everybody over here, everybody over here. So, and I was actually with Clint the day it broke. And he was so excited all day. Because it was exactly what he expected. Even some of the negative feedback to it was some of the stuff that tickled him the most. So, and he's not trying to make product that people don't like.
Yeah.
But he wanted, Comic-Con is the perfect time to do something so outrageous and just see what happens with it.
Well, yeah, to me, like Comic-Con, you know, there's two exclusives to me that feel like they fit at Comic-Con. The thing that's just unfeasible to see at retail, like the Dinobot set with the huge pop-up thing, or something that is just insane. Because if it's insane and someone doesn't want it, then they don't have that feeling of, oh, that's an essential toy that I can't get because I'm not in San Diego.
And I think that's something I like about collecting in general, is that everybody can define their own collection. And so for the guy who has to have everything, for the 1%ers of our fans out there who actually dislike the Rock Band set, I'm sorry for those people, because they have to buy it by their own rules, but they do not care for it. But for the guy whose collection is only G1 stuff, maybe they don't need it if they don't like it. So
well, it's a conversation that comes up a lot more nowadays, where you kind of pause and say, "Are you complaining that you're not spending $200 some?"
Yeah, and there were people who wrote not meanly like this, "Saves me money." Yeah, you're like, okay, cool, you know.
Oh, definitely. Well, going from that, I'll go into I had a couple questions about the, I don't want to say lower end, but the non-adult oriented stuff. This one touches on generations a bit. The Dinobot color schemes are really character specific and big, strong primary colors. It feels like that was very much a retail shelf move, like, to make them pop.
Not a mistake. And one of the criticisms of Bay's movies has been that the colors are so similar, especially on the villains, that once he gets going and he has all that stuff going on and blowing up on the screen, it's hard to tell who's actually in danger or who's actually fighting if it's moving fast enough. So our recommendation to the studio was have clear colors for every character so people can tell not only on the screen but in the retail aisle. We want, if you took your 5-year-old to Age of Extinction, we wanted them to come out and be able to say, I like the purple dinosaur. Yeah. So, and you can see in some of the trailers, some of that color made it in. You can see it in Strafe. You can see the blue.
And in Scorn, you get a little bit of that.
You can see it like crazy. Yeah. Slug, Grimlock, not quite so much. But our point from jump was we're going to recommend this to the studio, and this is what we're going to do. And, you know, how it goes from there, we'll see.
Because as I understand it, that's a toy industry thing, that there are a couple colors, like having a nice poppy, very dissimilar color all on the shelf at once makes it a lot easier to identify, like this character from this character. Easy reference, the retail Fall of Cybertron Bruticus. Those were strong, like retail-oriented colors. Yep. Well, going into the one-step changers, I just wanted to touch on something that was brought up at the panel, which was gesture. And that's something that I was glad to hear in the panel, that there was this push to not just have, we're going to have the button push Transformers or the pop-up Transformers, but to have those gestures. Like, speaking as an adult collector who isn't going to buy all the one-step changers, I picked up Drift based on, holy crap, that dude's a butterfly knife. Yeah. And I'm curious, in the office, was that like the buzzword going around with that guy?
Yeah, essentially. The funny thing is he gets called a lot of times the switchblade mechanism. Which is completely wrong. And you don't want to go on record saying we're making a switchblade for kids. Yeah. It is actually butterfly knife, is the motion of it. And when they made the one-step guys, they had a bunch of different mechanisms that worked. Yeah. And we wanted to make different versions so the play experience was different. But when we got the gray models in, and we could do that drift back and forth, they knew that was going to be the runaway hit of not just one-step changers, but maybe of the whole movie line. The one-step drift that looks good as a robot, great as a car, is completely easy to transform and is fun to transform. Yeah. You'll see Joss, head of design, walk around the hall going flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. and it's no mistake that you'll see the mechanisms of the one-step changers repeated within the line once or twice. Yeah. You'll see that drift mechanism either 3 or 4 times, because we know it is so compelling to the fan and to the younger collector.
It's just it's
so easy to do, and it's fun to do.
And it's such a unique thing to see as well, just because whenever one thinks, easy, simple transformation or easy play, one thinks push button. And there are a few push buttons in there too, but I was curious if the I think it's also called a balisong knife. The butterfly knife thing was it sounds like it was very much designer
Yeah,
intent.
it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't by design like let's make a butterfly now transformer, but it was the way the mass is displaced. It was an easy way to get the legs all the way around and the arms pop out.
And once you see it, it's like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's my go-to figure for once in a while. You'll at a con, you'll see a mom or a dad who has brought their kid who cannot stand the brand. The kid loves it, and God bless the parent who has brought them here, even if they don't like it. And I've seen this. I did it with bot shots before, where a parent will go, I don't like this stuff. It's too hard. Drift is my answer.
Yeah.
This stuff's too hard. My son gets stuck. I can't help him. Here's a drift. Do this. And if they can't do that, I'll never have anything for them, right? But by and large, most of them do a flip and go, oh my God. And then I say, flip it back. Flip, and the top folds down automatically. And they'll say, I've never seen one this easy. And you say, stay tuned.
I'm surprised how inspiring that toy is, just on many levels, because I'm looking at it just going like, I want to try to work some rare earth magnets in so he clips together in robot mode.
Sure. And you even see people, there's a segment of the fan base that does not like the simplified stuff at all.
Yeah.
And that's totally cool. Like I said, everybody defines their own collection. But because we aren't taking away generation SKUs to build that stuff, doesn't matter. If it's good for the brand, it's good for the brand, which is good for your generation stuff too. But even those guys and gals, if you hand them that drift and give them Truth Serum, they'll say that was pretty cool.
Yeah, me and a friend of mine have had that with the flip change, like the ring like a towel dudes.
Yep.
I've seen varying feedback on them. Like sometimes the engineering kind of caches itself a bit, but seeing how they work, I can only imagine that was a great challenge. Just getting the interlock gears mixed with the base idea of rolling the thing around.
It's not a normal gesture. It's not something you would do normally. So even us, when we first got them, it took a little bit to get comfortable with how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And so it takes a little bit. So I wouldn't say it's intuitive, but it is simple. And I think you get it. Once you get it, you're in forever. But it's not as simple as, say, the one-step guys, particularly Drift, where you just flip.
It's been funny watching the YouTube review end of those flip changers as well, because the distance is so weird. Many times I see someone filming their review, they start flipping it smacks their camera.
Right.
They're like, oh wait, I gotta.
Right, or gets them in the face as they flipping back.
With Power Battlers, I don't really have any major questions other than just the comment of, I believe that Junk Heap, I remember seeing that's also part of a campaign with a recycling.
It was waste management.
Waste management, yeah. I thought it was really interesting to see a campaign character who's also a Decepticon.
Yeah.
Was there any discussion about that? Like, were they saying like, "Hey, we want him to be heroic"? Or?
Right. I don't think there was any issue about that. Near as I can tell, and there is some stigma for if you want your vehicle in the movie, you want it to be a hero with a white hat on. But especially for collectors, they don't look down on Decepticon toys because they're evil.
Well,
right?
he's full of. It's so much potential character having this evil recycling truck.
Yeah.
Like this just adamant environmentalist or something walking around.
And people are excited for it because it's the only version of that character that we're making in the movie line. Mm-hmm. So that's where you'll see some collector crossover, because there isn't a Generations version of him. They may grab that Power Battler to have that guy from the movie.
I know that happened with a lot of us with the Fast Actions with Frenzy back in 07, a little boombox guy. The last big question I have is actually relating to Constructabots, and this is down to just the play pattern. I've noticed on the newer ones, the 5mm peg and post system seems to have pretty much just vanished, and is entirely replaced with ball joints and C-clips. Was that do you know if that was a conscious decision, or is there a chance we might see 5mm come back to Constructabots?
I suppose there's always a chance. I don't work directly on the Constructabots line, so I don't know the reasoning why things changed, but I know they were updating the skeleton from year 1 to year 2. Yeah. And there were several key insights they used to make a better toy in year 2. But I don't know the specifics for why that sort of thing changed. Okay,
yeah, there's just a small segment of us who are hoping to see the 5mm side come back. It gave them interactivity with mainline Transformers that was fresh to see. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks very much for your time. I've kept you for a while here.
No problem.
This happened when I talked to Clint.
No problem. Clint, if I followed in Clint's footsteps admirably, then I'm happy about that.
We
We love talking about the brand, all of us. Every designer, every marketer. There's a really good synergy on the brand of people who absolutely are passionate about the brand. Who, if they got a big promotion, would still care about that Transformers brand they used to work on. It's a very cool crew.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we just got to get you a hat, and then we'll.
I know, right?
Basically, have upgraded to Clint too.
Funny story. Dallas Botcon 2012.
Yeah.
Clint is trying on the straw hats that he would purchase that would become the Clint hat, and I'm looking at really nice black Stetson hats, really nice, and thinking, I'm not a cowboy, I'm not a Western guy, but black hat's always cool. So I go to try one or two on, and the guy who runs the shop comes right over to help. Hey, can I help you? How you doing today? And he looks at the hats, and I go, yeah, I don't know if you have these in 7 3/4. And he looks at the hat, and he looks at me, and he says in his Beck's nice Texas drawl, your head is going to be a problem. So my lack of hat is simply by circumference, not by lack of interest.
I am right there with you. I many years ago gave up on hats because it just doesn't work.
Hats are hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
And hope you have a good rest of Botcon 2014. Hope we see you again next year.
Absolutely. Well, I'll come back and do it again.
Alrighty. Well, thanks very much.
You bet.